watch this?
How?
Ew,
How do you watch this? Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hello, you're listening to How Do You Watch This, a movie review podcast where each week we review a movie that the other one suggested to us in the genre they love, but we don't. My name is Megan and I love romance.
My name is Demi and I love horror.
And one of these days, I'll remember what the name of our podcast is.
Thanks for tuning in on How Do You Watch This? It's alright. It's okay.
Sure.
We only are at, how many episodes have we done?
Oh god. More than what, like 20, I think.
At least more than 10.
At least definitely more than 10. 10 or 10 plus.
Yeah. My god, my mom was giving a movie suggestion for you.
Oh my god. Like a horror one or a romance?
No, a romance.
Oh my god, a romance from...
Yeah, for mommy.
Martha. Oh
it was like random. Oh, where's it at?
Okay, I'm gonna open my notes app.
So it's an 80s movie.
Oh my god.
And I was like, what does this have to do? It was just like I guess she just listened to the podcast and thought, you know what, has Megan seen this? It's called Untamed Heart.
Stop.
And it has Christian Slater, who according to my mom was hot in the 80s, which I agree.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, she says it's freaking old, but it's cheesy and I love it.
Okay.
So, I don't think I've seen it.
Watch it, clearly and obviously.
Yeah, so you'll have to watch it and let me know what you think so I can let my mom win.
I will. I'll give you a formal rating for it.
Yeah, so...
Oh, right. I suggested the movie for this week because we're in a romance week, thank God.
We made it. We survived.
Finally. All right. I'm like, I feel so good, and then I'm like, wait, like tomorrow or one of these upcoming days, I gotta watch a scary movie. So the movie I picked out for Demi was Lovebirds, which I think is a little on the action-y side as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'd say so.
Maybe that
matches
was fun for you.
The thread of survival.
Right, which we hadn't announced yet. So the suspense is over, everybody.
Surprise! If you haven't guessed it, it is survival. And yeah, it was definitely a lot. So this movie definitely reminded me of Date Night.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of similar themes. And,
correct.
I'll kind of discuss a little bit here and there. But yeah, if you know what Date Night is and you liked it, you'll probably like The Lovebirds.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same concept.
Yes.
Which I kind of wish it was a different concept. Just because I thought the main two actors were great, like chemistry-wise together. Yeah. And I was kind of like, oh, I wish it was like something a little different. Yeah. So I didn't have to just compare it to Date Night, which I haven't seen in so long, but I remember really, really loving that movie.
Well, I think that's why when I was doing research, I was surprised by all of the harsh critic reviews. And I think that it's because people were like, this is like been done before,
right?
And
yeah, and that's why I was like, I enjoyed it, but I was like, oh, I just wish it was a different concept because they really were just so funny together, and I would love to see them in a different type of rom-com movie.
Yeah,
but it is what it is. So the genre is rom-com, but it's got some other things in it. Action, I guess.
Action, I guess.
Mystery.
Yeah, some people die. So
some people die.
And like not in
definitely
like
one.
Depressing.
Definitely one. The director is Michael Showalter, and year released is 2020, height of COVID.
Yeah, it was supposed to be released in theaters, and they had to direct to Netflix it.
Netflix.
It had a relatively low budget. It was like a $16 million budget.
Oh, okay.
Which I only say relatively low because they say in interviews it's low.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's low in the industry or not.
I feel like that's pretty low.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, Dirt Poor is like $50,000.
Well,
that's what the horror movie, the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, their budget was $50,000.
Oh my god!
And you can tell. So
stop.
16. What do you say? 16 million?
Yeah,
it's a little lower.
Yeah, they apparently. So the director also directed another film that was one of kind of like the first. I think it's one of the first breakout roles for Nanjiani.
Oh yeah, the
Big Sick.
Oh, Lovesick.
Lovesick.
I'm mixing Lovebirds.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Big Sick, which was kind of like semi-autobiographical of his relationship with his wife. I watched that one, but for obvious reasons, I have not recommended it because I can't handle that right now.
Okay. Is it sad?
No, just because it has to do with sickness.
Oh, okay.
It's
that
in
makes
the title.
sense. It's in the title. Okay. Very fair.
And for listeners who don't know, I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac, so we're working on it.
Nope, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that was kind of like his breakout role. And I was surprised he wasn't in like a lot of stuff. Because I feel like I know his face.
I know.
But
maybe it could just be from his like stand-up and stuff.
Yeah, he's a comedian.
And like seeing different clips.
Yeah.
Online, but it does feel like he's more prominent than he actually is.
Right. I wish in this movie, because he has such a perfect jawline.
Oh my God.
I wish he didn't have that beard.
Really?
Yes.
The first time that's ever been said.
I know. Okay. So here it is. If you have a great jawline, 5 o'clock shadow is all you need.
Okay.
Because it's gonna look, great, and you don't hide your features.
Yes.
Like you grow a beard when you want to hide. You have a soft face. You can get a beard and it'll look good on you. But not that he was not handsome, but right. I'm like, oh, he's hiding his beautiful jawline. Why would you do that? But it's okay. He's still hot. So
I'll let him know.
Oh, I'm married. Stop. So my snapshot for the movie is recently broken up couple Gibran and Leilani end up on a wild goose chase while trying to find the man who murdered a bicyclist and basically framing them. This movie is basically what not to do in this situation.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was very much like none of this had to happen.
No.
And I will tell you the multiple times where I'm like, I would have gone to the police. I would have gone to the police.
Yes, AKA immediately. Like, yes. Immediately.
But, they had to make this movie happen.
Right.
And, the two main characters are very much, I don't know, they just
chaotic.
Don't think, they don't think too well, which shows in their relationship with each other. So the movie starts with the two main characters. Gibran is played by Kumail Nanjiani, and Leilani is played by Issa, and they're talking outside of Leilani's home after a one-night stand type of situation. And they're chatting. You can tell they kind of like each other, and they're like, let's just go to breakfast. And they end up hanging out a lot more, and it turns into this relationship. And so it jumps 4 years later, and they're living together, and they're just in a heated argument on whether or not they'd be able to win the Amazing Race.
Which is such a relationship argument. Like,
it's just funny the way they argue, because I'm like, it's so violent. Like, it's not violent, but it's so like why are
aggressive?
You guys, why is it this aggressive to? Because I'm sure if Brett and I had a conversation, I'd be like, no, we'd not be able to win because I would not be able to keep up with you.
Yeah.
And Brett would be like, no, we'll be fine. You just have to do better. And but I just can't imagine like yelling aggressively like they were. And that's just like,
I don't remember them yelling that aggressively. Clearly have in my relationship must be bad, I guess.
It was just like,
was it?
I don't know. It was a lot. Yeah.
I just watched it. I was doing nails while I did it, while I rewatched it, but
and so I was surprised that they were talking about like the Amazing Race of all things. And I'm like, God damn, if you guys are like this with that, like
it was definitely heated. Like I would say it was heated. I don't think they were like screaming at each other, but they were being very unkind to one another. Yeah. Which was just like
it's very like petty conversation. And they weren't like screaming. They do yell at one point, and Leilani's like, "Stop! Like the neighbors are gonna hear." And he's
right. I love that.
We're fine.
She was like, "We're pretending we're gonna play. We're gonna play," which is actually a line I yelled one time when I was a child, and I had my Aries rising. I had very bad anger issues, like as a kid.
Okay.
And well, as a kid and sometimes as an adult, but I would get into very heated arguments with my mom, and I would be screaming, and she'd be like, "The neighbors can hear you," and I was like, "We're just in a play. We're acting."
Oh my god.
Yes. So.
Oh my god. I don't know how your mom did not just boot you out of the house.
Yeah. Gentle parenting, I guess.
Too gentle. The fucking ring in your neck.
Yeah, if I had a kid screaming the way I screamed, I definitely would have pulled my hair out.
I would need therapy myself.
Right.
Bless your mom.
Yeah, seriously.
They're having this disagreement, and Gibran is working on this documentary. He's very busy on it. He doesn't let Leilani see it, and Leilani seems to be obsessed with her social media page, and she keeps looking at her phone. And they both kind of bring up this conflict of like, they're just not paying each other attention. They're kind of just very distant.
they're living very separate lives, like insular from one another, where it's like she's very focused on what's happening on her phone and what's going on in there, and he's a documentary filmmaker, and he's very focused on his film that he's working on.
Exactly.
And I think it's like a very common thing to have happen. I know that like Travis and I both get into our things where you're like in a mode where you're just kind of like focus on yourself, but then you also have to, I love how I'm giving relationship advice to fictional characters, but you also have to invite the other person into that space for a little while and be like, hey, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm doing. Otherwise you end up like Leilani and Gibran. Wait, is it Gibran?
Gibran, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And so at this point, they can't even have a conversation without it turning into an argument, because they changed conversations a few times at the beginning, and they're still just like arguing. And I'm like, Jesus, this is crazy. It's not looking good here. And so they're supposed to go to a friend's party that night, and they're driving there, and then they're still arguing, and they end up breaking up. And basically, Leilani doesn't like that he's constantly working on the documentary that he hasn't shown her, and he doesn't like that she's constantly worried about her appearance on social media. Obviously, there's more underlying issues here, but that's what they just admit to. Yeah,
it's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. So, while partially distracted, they end up hitting a man on a bike.
God.
And they try to help him up, and he seems mostly okay. He's, like, bleeding from the head, and he's like, I'm fine, and he ends up getting back on his bike and riding away. And Leilani picks up his phone that he dropped, and they get back into their car, and then a man, literally referred to only as Mustache in this movie, tells the couple he needs the car, that he's a cop, and the man is a criminal, so he has to catch up to him. And at first, they're both like, a little, I don't know, and then they kind of get into it, they're like, yeah, like, justice.
Right, they're like, oh, he went that way, go that way.
Yeah, go this way, down this alleyway, you'll catch up to him. So...
Also, okay, do you think that if a police officer, first of all, he never showed his badge, but regardless, let's say a police officer comes up to you and shows you their badge. Because if they didn't show a badge to me, I'm like, goodbye forever. But they show you their badge and they're like, I'm a police officer, I need your car. Would you give it to them?
I would just leave my car. Yeah. I wouldn't stay in the car.
No.
I would leave it and just be like, all right, well, I'm just going to call the police and be like, a cop supposedly took my car. Right. Here's the license plate.
Can I have your business card?
Yeah. Before I leave, can I have your business card real quick? Can I have your name and phone number?
Yeah.
But no, I would not try to argue it. I would just leave my car.
Yeah. I guess anytime anyone has a gun on their person, I'd be like, sure, have my car. No problem.
Whatever. I mean, if you ever experienced it, you know, you're just like, well, I guess have whatever you want.
Right. Yeah, actually, you have experienced it, so.
Not sure you know how to use that, but it's fine. I guess I won't take the chance. So... they're driving, they catch up to the biker, and they're at, like, in an alley, they corner him. And Mustache just runs him over.
Yes.
And then he backs up and runs him over, like,
multiple times.
And Gibran's face is so funny in this scene. Because he's just sitting there. They're both just sitting there, like, just shocked.
Yes.
And they don't know what to do.
Right.
And he runs over him like 5 times, and then Mustache gets out of the car and is looking at the body, which is somehow intact. There's no way this man's body would be intact. But it's PG-13 movie, so he's checking and it looks like he's looking for the phone. And Leilani realizes, and as Mustache starts to come back to the car, police sirens can be heard. And so he ends up running off as 2 hipsters, that's what they're called in the movie, pass by the alley and they see the dead body. At this point, I was like, what are y'all doing? So they're like, oh my god, he's dead. This guy's dead. And Gibran and Leilani are like, yeah, like, he's dead. And they're like, did you do this? And he's like, no. He's like, I did hit him, but I didn't kill him. And I'm like, why would you say that?
Yeah, so why would you say that?
And they're just making the situation worse. And so the one hipster's calling the police, and they just start running.
Yes. Well, first of all, I love that they are using each other's names. She's like, Gibran, where are you going? Yeah. And he's like, Leilani, run.
And then the hipster's like, the one person's name is Gibran, and the other one's Leilani. Right. He's like, the one is African American, the other one's definitely a person of color, but they're not murderers because they're people of color.
They just happen to be
minorities.
Yes. It was so great.
It's so chaotic. And so that happens, and I'm like, oh my god, like, what are y'all doing? They run off, they end up at a diner, and they're figuring out their next steps. And Leilani gets a call from an unknown number and picks it up, and it's a detective asking if they know where their car is. And Leilani starts lying.
Dude,
and I'm like, what
such
are
a bad
you doing?
idea.
And then just, like, hangs up. And I'm like, dying inside watching this.
Yeah.
And Jabron's trying to change the subject a little, and this conversation just made me laugh because I think about it too. But he brings up because they got milkshakes. He brings up the milkshake cup. He's like, why do they give you more milkshake in this cup? He's like, don't they just measure it? He's like, you don't get a plate of spaghetti, and they'd be like, here's more spaghetti in a cup.
Well, wouldn't it be amazing if they did?
Yeah, it would be amazing. And I just think about that sometimes too.
Dude,
so why do we get so much extra milkshake?
I love it though.
It's great.
It does make me sick because
I can never eat that much. It's too much milkshake.
But you're like, I have to finish it.
Right. So just a dumb little conversation. So Jabron wants to go to the police. Yes, you should. And Leilani's like, no, the police won't believe them, and they will end up in jail. And I'm like, okay, like, valid, but also I'm pretty sure you guys would be fine. I don't know.
It's hard. I think a lot of the things I read in the interviews were they were basically saying they wanted to, because they were representing, and because they are and were representing people of color, they wanted to show the relationship differences, because Nanjiani was basically saying his wife, who is white, doesn't have fear of police officers, but he does, and so they try to bring that to the characters, which I found was, in that aspect of it, I was like, okay, that's very believable and not going to the police, but at the same time, for someone like me who's so afraid of doing the wrong thing, I'll be like, I mean, you're gonna catch me anyway. Like, I'm not...
That's how I feel.
I'm not gonna be on the run for the rest of my life.
No, I'm like, I'll at least try and see what happens. But no, I totally get, like, their perspective. Like, they're not gonna believe us. They're not. And, like, yeah, they might not believe them, you know? But it's just, like, so crazy what they end up going through in this movie.
I know. It just gets wilder and wilder.
It gets so crazy. And so... the phone that they got from Dead Bike Guy gets a little ping.
AKA Bicycle.
Yeah. I think his name in the movie is Tom Bicycle.
Oh, Tom Bicycle. Yeah. Okay, great.
So it gets a little ping, and it's a calendar event to meet Edie at the Dragon's Den. So Leilani's like, you know what? If we meet with this person, we might be able to clear things up and find the name of the guy who actually killed Bike Guy. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, maybe. That's not a horrible idea. Should at least try this one thing. And then go to the police if it doesn't work out. So they go to this bar, and they find Edie, who's, like, weirdly dressed like a spy. And at this point, I'm like, what is gonna happen in this movie? Like, are they gonna have to do, like, spy shit?
Are they gonna have to do spy shit?
I just wasn't sure what was gonna go on.
Yeah.
And so she leads them both out, not really letting them get a word in. And then as they get outside, they both get knocked out and taken to this barn. And they're tied up to a chair. And Edie's asking them where the pictures are. And of course, they don't know what the fuck she's talking about. They're like, you know, you had the wrong person. Like, it's not us. And Edie gets help from her husband, Brett. He walks in with this, like, weird plague doctor mask. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's a hint for later.
Yes, and she gives away the fact that he's a senator. And so part of what's happening is there's a blackmail against the senator, and they need to protect his image. So then Edie says that since they don't want to talk, they can either get a hot pan of bacon grease to the face or get whatever's behind those doors. And Jabron is choosing the doors because he's like, I can't get my face ruined. I need it for Bumble. And this conversation just made me laugh because Leilani's like, well, scars are attractive. And he's like, oh, birds get burn victim scars. He's like, I'm gonna stalk you on Facebook, and I swear if you're not dating someone, not dating a burn victim. I know. And it's so stupid. But honestly, I'd probably choose the doors too. I would as well.
I'm not gonna take grease to the face.
No.
I said this would be the deleted scene, but only because of how unrealistic it is.
Correct.
So they move Jabron in front of these doors, they open it, and a horse is there, and the horse rear kicks him in the chest, and he goes flying, and I'm like, he would be dead.
He would be dead.
Absolutely
Instant death.
dead. Yes, instantly. But he's mostly fine. And he manages to kind of loosen up the ties as that happens, and then so they're on their way to give Leilani the grease because she's like, I'll take the grease. And she manages to kind of kick it out of the hands, and it goes flying. And so Jabron gets her out, and then they go 1, 2, 3, and Jabron just starts running. Leilani thinks like to fight back. So they end up running out, but before Jabron leaves, he ends up grabbing a piece of paper that Edie had, and it was like the address and phone number of Bike Man's apartment. So they escape. And they end up going to a gas station type of place to change their clothes.
Dude, I love this. Because he's literally like, I hope I never see a horse again in my whole life. And then she literally has this unicorn.
Full unicorn.
Yes.
And he's wearing like camo, and the hat says blessed. It's like a camo with the blessed on it. And they like show his like chest for a second, and it's beautifully hairy, but the fucking bruise on it, I'm like, dude, oh, like that would never heal properly. Like
your chest would be concave.
It would be broken. Like he would be dead, but
it's fine.
Bruised for life. Anyway,
bruised
we got to
for
see him
life.
topless, so worth it. So he tells Leilani he got that paper, so they're like, this is great, we'll go to the apartment and break in. At this point, I don't know if I would have called the police yet. I would have been like, you know what, let's go to the apartment and see what happens.
Okay.
I would have waited. I definitely would have called the police 2 other times before this.
I never would have made it to this apartment. I'm not gonna break into the, because then your DNA's all over his apartment.
It's true.
Come on.
It's true. So, but you know, whatever. You're already doing crazy shit, right? So they go there, they break a window to get in, and then they like hear music coming from behind these doors, and then inside they see a bunch of frat boys basically hanging out, and they're like putting photos in envelopes, and they're thinking those must be the photos that Edie was talking about. So as Jabron and Leilani are like talking, trying to figure out their next move, one of them walks into that room and Jabron just attacks him.
Dude.
And they have like this real fight that Jabron's sort of losing.
Right.
And Leilani had to step in, and they managed to get him down and talk to him. And they do like a whole bad cop routine to get him to talk. And this kid's like, I don't know anything. You know, dead bike guy was my boss. His name was Tom. And they just get paid to package stuff in envelopes and deliver to rich people. So they're talking to this guy, and Mustache walks into the other room that the frat boys were in, and he just starts killing them. And this is both happening at the same time, and Jabron and Leilani manage to get out before Mustache sees them, and they take the envelope that the one frat boy had with photos in it. So they manage to escape, and they're on a bus, and they're looking through the envelope's contents, and they see photos, and it's the senator, and it's like at a weird Illuminati type of party.
Everyone's in a mask.
Yeah, it's very kinky type of shit. Like you see that type of party, and you're like, all right, I know what goes down here.
Yeah.
And you know, the masks are the same that Edie's husband was wearing, and basically blackmail photos. And at this point, Leilani says, this is like The Amazing Race, but with dead people. And I like caught that on like early. I'm like, is this just gonna be like The Amazing Race, but like just violent?
Have you seen The Amazing Race?
Oh, dude, I used to watch it all the time.
Oh, really? I never.
You
watched
never?
it.
Oh, dude,
no. I'm like Jabron. I've never seen it.
No, my mom and I used to watch it all the time, and I could never do it because it's basically, you know the concept, right?
No.
Okay. Oh,
I know that you have to race.
It's a race, yes. So it's couples, and
yes, I know that bit.
Race across like the world, pretty much.
Okay.
So you'll get an envelope, and it's a hint, and it doesn't tell you exactly where to go. It'll just say,
my god,
a certain hint, and you like, okay, we're gonna have to go to Asia in this part, and you go there, and then if you're correct, there'll be another envelope there.
What if you're wrong?
You're fucked.
That is so stressful.
Yeah, so it's literally that the whole time.
That's it's all the bad parts of traveling.
I know, and it's literally like it could be like little tasks, or sometimes you could do a quick detour. And I remember the one episode, it was like a thing where it was tradition for people to shave their heads, and the man was already bald and the wife was not. So they decided to shave her head, and they got a quick like detour to get faster ahead. And I remember she looked so cute bald, but at first she was like crying because like that's a lot. But she looked really good bald, so it worked out for her. And it worked out because the husband was already bald, so they didn't have to waste time.
Dude.
I forgot if they won or not, but I remember they were one of my favorite couples. Anyway, it's a good time. I could never do it myself.
No.
But yeah, it's pretty much this type of concept in the movie where they're just getting like hints and they're going to different areas. Yeah. So it's just funny that she said that. So at this point, they feel like they need to unlock the dead guy's phone to get more information on kind of like what's going on. And so Leilani says that Keith can unlock it. And Keith is the attractive friend that Jabron says steals Cat Williams' jokes.
Yeah.
And Jabron just hates this guy. He hates him. And he ends up admitting that he doesn't like him because he doesn't like the way he looks at Leilani. And he doesn't like the way Leilani looks at him. And I'm like, damn, Leilani?
I know.
Sorry, you got a fine-ass man right here.
Yeah. Don't be flirting with someone else. Come on now. Anyway.
They decide to just go with this plan because they don't have any other choice. And their plan to unlock the phone, because they didn't want to just go in and just be like, hey, this is what's going on. We need this phone unlocked.
Right, because they're going to the party that they were supposed to go to,
right. Like a friend's
at the beginning
party.
of the night.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they are dressed absolutely chaotically.
Insane. And like, Jerron has like bleeding a bit from the head.
Yeah.
Like, they do not look good. At this point, I feel like I would have maybe told my friends what's going on, but I guess they didn't want to involve them in the situation, which is fair. Like,
yeah,
they are kind of framed for murder, and so then you're making your friends witnesses, technically.
Right.
So they go in, and their friends are like, where have you guys been? And why are you dressed like that? They're like, oh, we've actually been taking boxing lessons, and we just came in from a class. And they're like, oh, like, do you want to see a video of Jabron getting knocked out? And Jabron takes the phone. He's like, oh, it's locked on my phone. I forgot the passcode. He's like, I think I have a concussion. And Leilani's like, oh my god, like, you should call your doctor. He's like, I would, but it's on the phone. And everyone's just like looking at them like they're crazy. And Keith's like, I'll unlock it. I can do that. And so it works, and Keith unlocks the phone, and there is an app on there.
Before you continue, hold on. This is the only fun fact I was able to find online. Okay. It was that the code to get into the phone was 1, 2, 3, 4.
I saw that for a second, and I'm like, there's no way it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Because they were trying to think of a code, and Jabron was like, oh, he likes bicycles. So what was he's thinking of years.
Like the wins of Lance Armstrong, things like that, you know.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 would have been the first thing I would have tried, but I guess it just seemed too easy for them.
Right, I guess so.
So on the phone is an app, and it's for Sicarium, which is like the Illuminati fucking thing. And he clicks on it, and it says, it gives a location, a time to meet, and it's black tie only. So Jabron and Leilani change into some fancy clothes thanks to their friends. They look really good, really fancy. Mm-hmm. And what they tell their friends is that his doctor is at this party. And it's really fancy. And I'm like, dude, this line would just never work. Like, if you were telling me this, I'd be like, okay, I guess I'll text you later. If you're like, what the fuck is actually going on?
It would. I feel like you would play along and give me the things I need, and then you'd be like, as I was getting ready, you'd be like, what the fuck, dude, what is going on? Explain yourself. This is not.
Are you being hunted? Do I need to get involved?
Or you would definitely, like, I feel like I would leave and you would just get in your car and follow me. Like, where is this girl going?
Just take a mask. Yes. Some weapons. They're going somewhere dangerous. I need a help.
Something is not right.
Ride or die. Yep, absolutely. So they're headed to this place, and at this point, seeing that app, I would have definitely called the police. If I didn't call them before, this is the point where I'm like, okay, obviously this thing is not legal. Right. Whatever it is, it doesn't look legal. So I would have contacted them and be like, I have information on this thing. If you don't believe me, I will give you this info and you give me bail or something. Right. I'll trade you information. So they don't obviously call the police. They go to this place and they get masks. They have to wear these masks, and it's definitely just like a sexy thing. Like, it just looks like a sexy thing. And I'm like, okay, either someone's gonna die or everyone's gonna have sex. It's one or the other. Yes. So they go into a theater room. Everyone's just watching a stage, and they all have like cards with a number on it. And this guy in a red robe comes out with like a bingo machine. Yes. And calls out a few numbers. And so they all come on stage, and his bed comes out. And I'm like, it's a sex thing. Yeah. Yep. And it's funny because earlier in the movie, they were arguing about, you know, sex, because Jabron's like, oh, we're gonna have sex tonight. And she's like, why would you plan it? Like, I'm not gonna put in my calendar, oh, sex at 7:45 tonight. And she's pretty much saying that, like, people who have orgies don't schedule it. They just happen. And it's just funny because here it is, obviously scheduled. It's a scheduled orgy. So these people are just having sex on the bed that were chosen. And then it gets interrupted, and the guy in the red robe's like, we have a traitor amongst us, and on the count of 3, everyone take your mask off. And at this point, I would have waited to see if everyone else took their mask off. And so obviously on the count of 3, only Leilani and Jabron take the mask off, because the biggest rule of Sicarium is that no one takes their mask off.
Right, and if you're in a room with a bunch of people with masks on, they're not gonna...
I know, I would have just like waited, put my hands on my mask, and then like look to see if anyone else did it, and if not, I'm like, okay.
It would take you 1 extra second to take it off.
Right.
Like,
yeah. So they get caught, everyone's starting to go like after them, and then some sirens go off, and so they escape, and then a few seconds later, all these police come in, and they take Jabron and Leilani out. They're at the police station, and they're waiting for the detective, and during this, they end up having like a heart-to-heart. And they both realized that they were thinking the wrong thing about each other. Crazy. If you talk to each other. Communication is key, y'all. Gibran assuming that Leilani had everything figured out, and she feels like she doesn't have anything figured out ever. And then Leilani thinking that Gibran doesn't care about her opinion, and he says he cares the most about her opinion. That's why he didn't want to show her the documentary until it was like ready. And she admitted that she actually did watch it in secret, and she thought it was like really great, and she should be proud of it. So they had like a nice moment, and I'm like, wow, it's crazy you guys are talking. It took you a murder frame adventure to get here. So the detective finally comes in and is like, we've been trying to contact you because we know you didn't murder the guy because there's traffic cameras. Right. And I was like, oh my god. Yes. Oh my god. So they
could have avoided all of this.
Everything. The detective was trying to reach them to make sure they were safe and offer like protective services until Mustache was captured. And then the whole Sicarium thing, they were tipped off that something was going on, but someone must have tipped off the group to let them know that police were coming because they weren't able to capture anyone. So the couple gets an offered to get a ride home by a police officer. And at this point I was like, oh, the movie's ending. It's great. Yeah. And surprise, it's Mustache. He actually is a cop. He's a bad cop. And he gets paid to protect Sicarium. And so he was the one that tipped them about the police. And he was working with the bike guy on like blackmail stuff.
Yeah, so he was playing both sides of this field. He was blackmailing all the people in Sicarium or whatever, and he was also working for the people in Sicarium to protect it. Exactly. So it was just really, this guy is...
He's got his fingers in everything.
Yeah.
So apparently the bike guy was getting greedy and wasn't giving him part of the money. I don't know if that's true or not.
Which also though, but like, if you're ever doing anything that's illegal, don't be greedy. You're working with people who kill people. Come on.
Yes, and you're working with like a cop, like literally a cop. Right. Like you don't think you're gonna like you're not getting away from this.
No.
So idiot Tom bicycle. And so Mustache just murdered him violently, and so he's now going to murder Leilani and Gibran. Yeah. He drives to a boat dock and basically shoot them and dump their bodies. So he's setting up like a tarp. Yeah. And he has Gibran and Leilani tied up with zip ties, but they manage to get out of it. And so there's a scuffle that ensues on the dock, and Leilani ends up shooting Mustache off the boat. Yeah. He survives. She didn't fully commit murder. No. And so police arrive at the scene, the couple make up and realize they still want to be together. And then 1 year later, they're on The Amazing Race and they're first place. Yep. And that's how the movie ends. So that is Lovebirds. Yep. Yeah, so I really liked the chemistry between the two actors, but I didn't like them as a couple. I'm like, they're definitely gonna break up in a year. Like, they're just not gonna work out, unfortunately. But I really liked the actors. I thought they were so funny together. And they really did have good chemistry together. Yeah. The whole Amazing Race thing at the end was really funny, especially since I used to watch it so much. And I just wish the plot was more creative. Okay. You know, I feel like it was a bit of wasted potential with those two actors. Yeah. But yeah, those are my thoughts there. And then I'll jump into my sheet. So the most memorable scene was the Illuminati orgy scene. I was like, wow, okay.
Fair enough.
I really thought it was gonna be a murder, like a sacrificial thing.
I know, I did too.
Over an orgy scene. Right. And then the scene that should be deleted was the horse kick scene. Love interest, I said smash for either of them. Right. And side character, Mustache, I will pass.
Yeah, fair enough.
Looks disgusting. And how likely are you to fall in love with this situation? I said 2, because I would have definitely wanted to go to the police. And I probably would have gone to the police. Yeah. And I'd be like, all right, you do what you want, but I'm gonna go to police. And I just don't think I would fall back in love.
That's okay. You know? I think that's fair.
Sorry, not sorry. I would recommend it. You know, I think it had a lot to it. I think the actors are really funny. Yeah. And, you know, I think it's a very short movie. It's only an hour and a half. So I think it's a nice, quick watch if you want something a little fun. And so I gave it 3 stars, 3 hearts. Okay. You know, I didn't think it was that bad.
I didn't think it was that bad.
No.
Okay.
No, it really wasn't that bad. You know, it had some really funny scenes that made me laugh, but the majority of it, I was like, oh, you know, it's been there, done that. Yeah. And, you know, I didn't think it was that creative or...
I was pleasantly surprised by it because I went in with low expectations, and it was obviously prime pandemic time, so it was a nice escapism movie.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot else to watch, so I found it enjoyable. And while I was watching it, I wasn't comparing it to Date Night, probably because Date Night is so much older, and I haven't seen Date Night since it came out, basically.
See, I watched it multiple times.
Really?
Yeah, I really loved that movie. It's just, I thought it was
well, they're great actors. Yeah.
They're just so funny together.
I think about it regularly. There are certain scenes from that movie that, like, are ingrained in my mind.
Yeah.
Such as when you tell a lie, don't be over the top.
Yes, and it's funny because when I was thinking back to that movie, I'm like, there was a lot that was similar.
Yeah.
So, in Date Night, there was that, Mark Wahlberg was the techie guy, he's attractive, and in this one you have Keith, who's attractive and the techie guy, and, there's a weird, they go to some sort of club, and they're in disguise, and, it's like a strip club, and and I totally forgot about that scene. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot Tina Fey was pretending to be a stripper.
I forgot about it until this exact moment. I forgot about that until this exact moment.
So it's just, like, a lot of similarities. So that's why I'm like, I wish this was different.
Yeah.
Do it another movie with them, too.
Yes.
I will watch it.
They both did a great job.
Yeah.
And they both, like, in interviews were very complimentary of one another, which was really nice, especially because, as I said, with The Illusionist, there was a little bit, they kept talking about the Jessica Biel's looks. And the thing that I loved about this was Nanjiani just kept saying how talented Issa Rae is and how her work, like, character work is really good, and her way of enacting showing relationships, both platonic and romantic. She's very talented at that, and she kept complimenting the fact that, like, he's very creative and comedic, and that they really pushed each other to be the best version of themselves when working on the film, which I thought was really nice. I liked that, like, positive relationship that they have with one another.
Yeah, they both seem like very nice people, very funny, very talented.
Yes.
Because I haven't seen a lot with either of them. I mean, I saw The Eternals. And
I didn't yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, but
I think it was just...
he was very handsome and great in it. So
if
you want some eye candy.
Yes, I definitely want to watch it. I've been behind on my Marvel, so...
Girl, don't watch it anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's so sad. It was...
I know, end of an era.
Yeah, really.
They did that to themselves.
They did.
And Issa Rae, honestly, I haven't seen anything with her except the Barbie movie. This President Barbie.
She was President Barbie.
Yeah. I know she was President Barbie.
I don't know.
I feel like she has such a distinct, like, look. And how tall is she? She has to be tall.
She was probably very tall.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm like, oh.
Guessing.
I wish I could be so tall and lovely and elegant.
I don't know. I guess I just wasn't thinking about any of the side Barbie characters. I was thinking more about main Barbie.
Main Barbie? Main Barbie, main Ken.
Yeah, exactly. And then weird Barbie or strange Barbie or whatever she was called. Oh, her show is called Insecure. Which I did see a couple episodes of, but on when it was coming out, like when it first came out, it was on a streaming service I didn't have, and then I just...
I think it was it HBO?
Yeah, probably. Okay. And I didn't have it. And so it just became another thing on the list of, I need to watch this. And then you're like, you know what? There's too many things I need to watch.
It's too much. I know.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of other shows there.
I've been slowly watching shows. And so I told JD I would watch the new Game of Thrones. So.
Oh, I have to watch that one. Yeah. It's on our list, but it's another one of those things. I just feel my feelings are still really hurt about how Game of Thrones
That's how I feel. And JD's like, no, it's good. I'm like,
I know. I just feel like I was such a diehard fan. I really was. I was like, I was so deep.
Yeah. I was obsessed.
I would literally...
So many of us were.
Spent hours and hours and hours researching all the possibilities. And, like, literally after every episode, it's like, oh my god, and the memes and all this stuff. Yeah. And then they ruined it. And it was like, now I'm embarrassed about my love of it. I did get rid of our Westeros map we had the other day. It had basically, I got it for Travis back in college.
Okay.
And it was rolled up because we never freaking hung it up in our new house because it just went downhill after then.
That's what, like, when Brett, his groomsman, got him the Jon Snow sword. And I'm like, it's a beautiful sword, but...
Unfortunately.
We're not going to hang that in the house. We'll hang it up, but we won't say it's Jon Snow's sword.
Right.
I guess diehard fans might be like, oh,
that's Jon Snow's.
I recognize that sword.
I mean, it's still good for parts of it were good.
Yeah, you can watch it up to season 5, I think.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, even if you watched it up to season 7, just don't watch 8.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that like even yes, it's
really
not as good
crashed and
6 and 7. It's
Yeah.
not as good, but if you just even if you watch up to then and then just never watch another episode, do not watch 8. Those
That's
are the
what I
lost
tried
episodes.
to convince my boss because he started watching it, and this was
Mm-hmm.
after it was all completed, and I was like, just stop at 7. Like,
Yeah.
don't watch it. He ends up watching the whole thing.
Of course
I'm
you
like,
did
why
because
would
you have that curiosity. You're in
No.
the world. You want to know what happens
It
next.
can't be that bad.
It is though.
It is that bad.
They did us all dirty. They literally
Yeah.
did so horribly bad
So,
on it.
I
but
wanted to
whatever.
watch the Fargo TV show next.
I still have to watch. Yeah, that's on my list.
Yeah, JD said he liked it more in the movie.
Okay,
He didn't like the movie that much. I'm like,
anything.
oh, dude, the movie's a classic.
Yeah, I have to watch all those things. There's just too
Yeah.
many things to watch.
It's too
And
much.
Travis and I we like to watch like one show a night with dinner,
Mhm.
and it's at the point now where Travis is so busy with doing all these things
Yeah.
that we watch half an episode of the Great
Mhm.
British Baking Show per night. So you can imagine how
Yeah.
long it is taking us to get through a single season of that.
Yeah.
And then I like watching shows and stuff too, but then it's just,
Mhm.
especially in the winter, I try not to watch too much TV because by the time you look up from an episode, it's nighttime and you're
I
sad.
know, because every episode's like an hour, and I'm like,
Yeah.
shit, I gotta stop.
I
But-
know, but I do love television. I love watching shows and movies and things like that. It's just
I have been getting more into it because at least with a movie, it's like it's 2 hours usually
Yeah.
minimum. But with a show, I'm like, all right, I can stop an hour
Yeah.
like through, and but then they leave cliffhangers, and I'm like,
no. That's why. So what you do?
Oopsies.
Here's my strategy. Right.
Okay.
You go mid episode to mid episode.
oh,
So
it's smart.
you go. You know,
Smart.
you
Yeah.
stop it at the point where no further drama has occurred. So
That's
you're
a
not
really good
like
idea.
having this climactic point, and so you're able to be like, okay, I don't
Yeah.
have to wait until next
I-
episode.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, I will start doing that.
Yeah,
It will help me. So
do
thank you.
recommend. You're welcome. No problem. I'm here with those hot tips.
Oh my god. Hot tips for Megan. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
our next movie for Horror Week
Mm-hmm.
is going to be Sleepy Hollow.
Yep.
And you've seen Sleepy Hollow, right?
Nope.
You never seen
I
Sleepy
think,
Hollow?
you know what,
I thought you said you
honestly,
did.
I might have been. I think I saw it when I was young. Because it's the one with the guy whose head gets knocked off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely saw it when I was younger.
Headless Horseman.
The Headless Horseman. And I was going to have a birthday party theme on Sleepy Hollow a couple years ago, which is ironic considering the fact
Yeah.
that I haven't seen it in my adulthood.
Uh-huh.
But I love the vibes.
The vibes are good.
The vibes are good.
And I think that's why a lot of people watched it when they were younger. But
Yeah.
it's definitely not a kid movie. And I watched
Yeah.
it a lot as a kid.
You watched a lot of things as a kid that you should not have watched.
I know. But this was one of them. And it's so funny because when I was watching when I was younger, I didn't know anything was going on.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's got Johnny Depp and it's got spooks.
Yeah.
I like it. And then I didn't realize till I was older, I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot going on in this movie. And when I was younger, I was just like, oh, I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't understand anything, but it's fun.
Well, I'm excited to. I'm semi excited to watch it.
It's a great movie.
Is it gonna scare me?
No. It has, like, I'm remembering scenes that scared me when I was young,
Right.
but I don't think they're gonna hold up.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I remember like covering my head with a blanket, but also I was scared of all of the introductory parts of Disney movies. My mom said I would run out of the room.
THX?
No,
Oh.
no, not
That
that,
would scare
not
me.
that far, not that far into the intro. Like if we were watching Bambi,
Oh,
I
with
had
the
a-
creepy music?
yeah, I couldn't. My mom said I would run out of the room, and I would stand in a corner in the
No.
foyer and wait until it was over, and then I would run back.
The Bambi opening, that scared me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so you're valid for
Okay,
being
thank
creeped
you.
out. Yeah, no, it was
Thanks.
really creepy for no fucking reason.
Right, and also definitely unnecessary to put that sort of trauma on a child.
No.
They don't need to know that happens.
Nope. But this movie, I don't think, well, it definitely won't, like, traumatize you. There's some
Great.
creepy moments, but
Okay, I can
overall,
handle a little bit
it's-
of creep.
it's based on a tale
A tail.
of the Headless Horseman and
Mhm.
Ichabod Crane, if you know that story.
Mhm.
And it's Johnny Depp, and he's the main character.
Mhm.
And he is the detective, doctor, kind of brought in because people are getting murdered and their heads are getting cut off. So he's trying to figure out what's going on. It's got Christina Ricci, and she is like the most beautiful ever. It's
Mhm.
like she was meant to be in that time period. She's just like
Man,
stunning.
we could have done a Christina Ricci episode
know.
instead of. Well, it's fine.
I know, it's okay.
She's a star in
I
our.
know.
I mean, because we also could have done Johnny Depp
We
as
also,
a through.
I mean,
well,
we can definitely still do Johnny Depp
Yeah.
because he's in 1.5 million things.
Yeah, that's true.
But she's beautiful, and he ends up falling in love with her, and there's just a whole mystery to be solved, and
Mhm.
it's pretty exciting stuff. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah, it's got, it's fantasy based. So the Headless Horseman obviously is a supernatural being, but then there's a weird creepy tree, and there's a witch in the woods, and it's got all the fun stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
I have not seen it in a while, I will say, but I have seen it many, many times. So I'm curious how it holds up now.
Me too.
Yeah. It's an old movie.
I am very curious. What year is it?
1997, I think.
Okay.
99.
Okay, 99. You probably watched it when it was released because you were watching scary movies way too.
I don't know if I watched it when it released, but definitely a little after that.
Your mom was like, you know what? 5 is too young. 6. We'll do 6.
6 is good.
Yeah.
But no, this was a fun one in my childhood, so.
Good. All right.
Good vibes.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's going to be a good time for you.
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll leave the thread a secret for a little bit, and you can think on it.
One more week.
Yeah.
Whatever.
However the timeline works.
Whatever.
Am I closing off?
I will close us off.
Okay.
I guess, since I talked less and had literally, I looked up there was one single trivia fact on IMDb, and I was just like, this is so
I could imagine
weird.
There probably wasn't much.
Yeah, so I had to read through a lot of interviews, which is fine, except for the fact that half of the interviews were talking about COVID and quarantine and how's everyone handling things. And it's like, okay, I get that was the relevant point in the time, but I'm not going to talk about what TV shows Nanjiani was binge watching.
And these were all, I guess, virtual.
Yeah, they were all virtual and stuff like that. So I know that was challenging for them to do. Yeah. And it was stressful in its own way.
I bet, yeah.
I think I got all my interesting facts about the movie out. I don't think I forgot anything, but I probably did. Whatever.
It's cool.
So you can follow us on Instagram, How Do You Watch This? On Threads, on TikTok, How Do You Watch? Gmail, How Do You Watch This at gmail.com. But honestly, the best place is to just go to Instagram, go to the milkshake, and find the things that you want to be part of, because there's a Discord too, all that kind of stuff. And just as we promise every week, and we'll probably continue to promise for weeks to come, one of these days we will, in fact, start posting again. Turns out that social media is a hole in which we don't enjoy frolicking.
Nope. So we need a volunteer to do it.
Yeah, if someone wants to be a freelance, and by freelance we mean you will be paid $0, so you will be free.
We need a Gen Zer to help us.
Who doesn't want money?
The experience.
Yeah, just for like the vibes. Okay, thanks for listening.
Oh, thanks. We'll see you next week.
Bye.